at Nkosi Talk Shows, Find Your Own Voice, Lead from Within. With me today, I've got Amanda and Nick. I'm going to let Amanda introduce herself. Amanda, please introduce yourself to our audience.
My name is Amanda Cottrell. I am a teacher, an artist, and an illustrator, and an author. And I help people find their own unique creative capacities within themselves through art and through writing. And I just love being on the show to talk about so many different empowering things for people and for kids. Nick?
Thank you. My name is Nick Motichka, and I am a former police officer who just resigned from the only career he knew to go all in on my passion, which is to start my own fashion brand here in Alberta in Canada. And my brand is based on the following pillars, and that is locally made, sustainable and natural fabrics, and quality, and the fit has to just be right. So it's taken me 2.5 years to get to this point, but I'm getting very close to launching with my first product. So exciting things happening here.
Nomza, you're muted.
Sorry, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Nick. So, our topic today is knowing when to be a leader and when to be a follower. So, Amanda, you chose this topic. Would you mind explaining to our audience why you chose this topic and what it means to you?
Yeah, I chose this topic because I've been taking this course called Thinking into Results, and it's actually kind of the focus of this week's um, lesson, which is about being a leader or being a follower. And essentially, you need to be both at different times in your life. And it's like, as I've been thinking about this since I started listening to the meditation thing that I'm supposed to listen to every day, I was like, wow, this is like so many different things in life. And I'm trying to teach my daughter that too. Like, we went to the driving range yesterday and she's like so frustrated at the start about like golfing. And I'm like, honey, like, it's not something that you learn easily. Like, when I first wanted to learn how to golf, I went and I reached out to somebody that I knew that was really good at golf. And I was like, will you teach me? Can I just come to the driving range with you, and will you give me some pointers? So I reached out to the person that I knew was the best at golf to help me with that. And so in that case, I was definitely a follower because I was like, please help me, like, teach me what to do. And so essentially, and this is what Bob Proctor talks about in the lessons too, is that there are times where you need to be a leader and there are times where you need to be a follower. But effective leaders know that they're not having followers to like get esteem. They're having followers to bring out the best in the people who are following them. And I think that's something that's really, really important is when you bring out the best in other people, people are going to naturally start to follow you. And I think that was like the most important thing. And I kind of like cringed about the like be a follower, but then when I listened to it, I was like, oh, that's why that makes so much sense. Like, when I wanted to learn how to snowboard, I surrounded myself with people who were really good snowboarders, and I was like, okay, I'm going to practice this, and then come and give me some pointers, and then I'll be on this run. and and so they would come back and they would give me some pointers, and then I'd keep going, and then they'd come back and they'd give me some pointers, and then I'd like, hey, leave me alone for a bit. Let me keep practicing. And so essentially, if you want to get some good at anything, then you have to be able to surround yourself with some people who are already doing that, who are already really good at it. And so there's always somebody that you can go and follow when there's growth that you want to have happen. And so surrounding yourself with those people who already know what they're doing is going to help you get to where you want to go so much faster. So essentially that's why I picked the topic, and I love that, because at first the idea of being a follower kind of made me like upset, because I was like, I don't want to be a follower. But then I was like, oh no, it's almost like there's times to be a leader and time to be a mentee, almost, is what I think is that I would change it to in my head. But what do you think, Nick?
Yeah, that's great. I love Bob Proctor, by the way, too. So that's got to be an interesting course. So for me, as you're talking, I was thinking about how many in our society and in our workplaces now, how many bosses we have compared to how many leaders we have. And I think there's needs to be an important distinction there. And I've worked for a lot of bosses, but not a lot of leaders in my life, and that's a big difference. So for me, a leader is someone that's genuinely passionate about what they're doing, where just their example and they just do it right, and they don't not doing it for the prestige or the esteem. They're doing it because of something bigger than that, their morals, or like I said, a genuine passion for whatever the topic is, or job, or situation. And so then the natural inclination is for people to, well, they see that, right? It's just an energetic thing for me, where you can just sense that off someone, that they're just there in it, doing it for the right reasons and doing it the right way. And by doing that, then people follow naturally. So for me, that's what I was thinking about when talking or thinking about this topic. So I'm sure we'll get a lot deeper into it. I'm excited to get going.
Thank you so much, Nick and Amanda. Amanda, are you on your phone or are you on your laptop?
I'm on my laptop.
Do you want to go to your phone? Do you want to go to your phone and see if our live is actually frozen or not? Because my computer is showing me that is frozen, or maybe just my computer. I'm not sure what's going on. Or Nick, whoever is able to check on Facebook or YouTube, it basically shows that our pictures are frozen. Maybe it's just my computer. So I don't know. So yeah, I love Bob Proctor. His work is really, really amazing, and I'm glad that Amanda, you chose this topic for us, because being a great leader, basically, great leaders, basically, they don't just want you to follow you. They help you to become who you want to become as a follower. First, you have to follow them first, basically, and then you have to learn from a great leader, learn the skills, learn how to do things. And as long as you're not going to stay there in that following bit, because when you are following great leaders, you are there to learn the skills, you are there to learn the secret of success. So once you learn their secret, then you can implement. So that's what great leaders are for. And every leader that I have followed myself, there is only one thing that they keep saying, that don't be a follower for the rest of your life. You follow and then go and teach others the things that you've learned, and they always make sure that the people that are following them, they understand the importance of being a great leader and the importance of being a good follower. A good follower basically is there to learn, and once they learn, basically you have to drop your egos, because our egos can actually take control over our lives. So being a great follower, it means you drop your egos and you learn from the great leaders. And once you learn from the great leaders, and then you get out there to the world and basically implement. There are so many people that have impacted my life that I have never met, and they have no idea how much they've changed my life. But these people, I've never met them. So it is important. Oh, okay. If it's not frozen, it's fine. That means it's just my computer. So that's good. Over to you, Amanda or Nick.
Yeah, I really like what Nick said about that he's had a lot of bosses and not a lot of leaders, and I feel the same way too. And I look back on my different experiences, and I had one principal that I always look back to as like my model principal as a teacher, because she was 100% there for the kids no matter what. And she also, one thing that I found like that made her the best leader that I've ever had to follow was she actually had vulnerability. and she admitted when she didn't know what she was doing, or like where she had struggles. And so we were in this school that had like some pretty high needs, and she came up to me and she's like, in all of my years, and she was a retired principal who had come back to just like be a temporary principal at our school. And she was like, in all of my years, I've always been able to like get kids and bring them in by building a relationship with them. And she's like, I've never worked with kids like this. Like normally I would have them by now. And she's like, and I'm struggling to like figure out how to like win them over. And I just was like, wow, like it is so empowering to know that like she was struggling with them too, with all of her experience and all of that what she had. She was able to be very humble and be like, I'm struggling too, let's work together on how we can do this. And I just thought like that, in that moment I was like, you are such a great leader, because you can actually recognize your vulnerabilities and be open and honest about them. And I haven't seen a lot of people who do that. And the other thing that I was thinking as Nomza was talking, that you don't always want to be a follower, but I think there are times where you want to be a leader in your like expertise, but you'll be a follower in other areas. So even like the video that I was listening to with Bob Proctor, it says how he was actually a follower in the making of the video because he's not really good with technology. So he's like, you tell me what to do, like where to stand, what time to be there, and I'll be there and I'll do my talk. But all the tech stuff and all the like other part in building it to get it out to the world, that's somebody else's expertise. So he lets them do that. His expertise is what he does, which is empowering people and empowering people to think and differently and to empower their lives. Whereas he allows other people to excel in their specialties, because he doesn't want to be a leader in technology. Like his dream isn't to be like oh my goodness, I'm forgetting his name, the person who started Tesla. um what is his name? Elon Musk. Yeah, he doesn't want to be a tech leader like Elon Musk. He'll let Elon Musk be the leader in that area. And I think that's something too that people who are leaders need to recognize, is that you can be a leader in different areas and you're not necessarily competing with other people. You can collaborate with them and collaborate with different leaders. And when you recognize that you don't have to be the be all and end all leader and you can collaborate with others, that's just showing what a good leader you actually are, because leaders recognize where they need help in different areas, and where they can step back and let others lead, and when they can step forward and be the leader in their specialty.
Yeah, I think that's really important. What you touched on there is that vulnerability piece, and then just to tie it in with what Nomsa said as well, is that being able to get beyond your ego and not have it be about you and the accolades or whatever. And so if you can get beyond the ego and show that vulnerability and just be open and honest, I think those are two huge signs of a good leader. And that's just something that's so rare. And for me, coming from the policing world, which is pretty hyper masculine at times and a lot of ego and all of that, I think for me, that's why when I talk about having bosses over leaders, I think in the policing world, definitely in my experience, there's a lot more bosses than leaders. And I'll just give an example of kind of one of the worst bosses I ever had in policing. And then, but also I learned a lot from him as well, in that what I don't want to be in my life, or that doesn't resonate with me at all. So when I was I would have been about close to 10 years into my career, and I had some drug work experience. And so I applied for a position with a new policing agency. So I switched from the Royal Canadian Mounted Police to the Calgary Police Service. And so when you switch, you have to kind of start over again. So went back to the street, and then was on the street for a couple of years in Calgary, and then had the opportunity to apply for a drug unit in Calgary. And so I did that, and I was junior within the new service, but had some previous experience. So went through their process, and I ended up getting the position, which I think pissed off my new boss. I don't think he thought that I deserved it, being a new guy, basically. And so he did what I felt like what he could do to make my life miserable. And for me, it was, yeah, so I was more worried about him and what he was going to say or critique or yell at me about than I was about the drug dealer whose car I was in, like unarmed and trying to buy meth from this person. And so my head was, I was thinking about all the like silly little things, like in undercover work, you generally try and take the same route in as you're going to out when you're driving in or out, just to make it easier for your cover team. And so I was like, for whatever happened with traffic, I had to take a slightly different route. So I'm now worried more about the route I took in to meet this drug dealer, and I'm worried about my boss yelling at me more than now I'm in this drug dealer's car buying whatever I was buying at the time from this drug dealer, and just how crazy that is, that even like my safety is on the line and my head is not where it should be because I'm more worried about this, what this boss is going to say or do to me after. And then I'll just take it one step further. So we would play basketball or volleyball or something before shift sometimes in our facility. And the one day, so I'm not a naturally real athletic person. I never played like basketball or anything like that in school. And so I'm just now a almost 40-year-old guy bumbling around a basketball court trying to figure it out. So I'm grabbing and holding, and it's again that hyper masculine environment. And so I'm trying not to look silly in my own mind. Anyways, he took offense. This is my boss now. He took offense to my how I was playing, I guess, and he ran at me and like full on body checked me from behind. Like I had no idea he was coming. I like left my feet, slid into the wall, and I ended up actually, I never went to the doctor, which I probably should have, but I definitely had bruised ribs, if not broken ribs, from him. And it's just like, that is the ultimate example of what I will never be in this world or to any other person. So in that, thank you, Jeff, for your terrible example of how not to be a leader.
We can't hear you, Nomza.
No.
Oh,
I
there you
mute myself. Every time I press mute, unmute, then I keep muting myself. Yes, I like it, Amanda, when you say you can be a leader in different areas, and sometimes you have to step back and let others lead. I think it is really, really nice. Sometimes, like myself, there are times where I just say I need a break when I'm doing something. I will just say to somebody. I always make sure, even with my business, I always make sure that I get help, and I know that I can't do everything. If you find me, I'll be like, I know the things that I'm good at, but I know some of the things that I'm not good at. So I learn everything. And so that when I'm approaching somebody, I know I can understand what they're talking about. It's like with the marketing, with the business, you have to make sure that you basically let other people lead if you don't know anything about marketing. But at the same time, you have to learn a little bit of the basics of marketing, because since I've started my business 2018, there are some people that basically you read about them online, and their basically resume is really, really amazing. But when you do speak to them now, you start asking questions. the answers that you get is different basically to what basically marketing is all about. So if you don't know, because just running Instagram on its own, it will cost you like $600 or $500 per social media. And if you don't know, basically you will lose money. So it's very, very important as a leader to have a little bit of ideas when you are doing things with doing business with people, what the business involves, what the expectations, and know your expectations as well. And as a follower, basically, when I'm a follower, I'm a free agent. When I went to the business event last Saturday, it was so amazing. When I'm sitting on this side and I'm watching different people, different speakers. They are speaking. It was a silent event. Have you ever been to a silent event? You never been. It was my first time. It's actually awesome. You go to a room, it's like a big open room. They've divided the room like you can have maybe 1,000 people this side or 500 people the other side or 500, but there was two rooms divided per room. So you go in, there's like 10 speakers. It's like a talk show. There's speakers there, they're talking, and you get in and you put earphones so you can listen to the event where you are. It's called the silence event. You've got these earphones with the glitter everywhere. So you are like taking notes. It was so amazing. I'm like, I'm loving this. It was really, really amazing. And after that, basically, most of them is TV presenters that we see on TV. They were there. So, and then after that, I was getting excited basically to go and spend time with these guys and ask questions about what they do and how they do the things that they do. It's amazing when you actually ask questions, because at that moment, basically, I knew I was a follower, not a leader. I wasn't there as a leader. I was there as somebody who is a follower. And I went to a business event as well. This woman, she's a relationship coach. So she asked me questions and she goes, so what do you expect when you come to our event? I was like, I'm just coming to learn. I'm not going there as a matchmaker or as a relationship coach. When I get there, basically for me, I'm taking notes, because if I'm able to implement what I'm learning from people, if they are good at what they do, obviously, and if I'm able to take notes and implement, that means my clients, when I'm talking about something when it comes to relationship, I will be talking about something that I know that I'm doing, because as coaches, we intend to basically to be good at what we do, and then we neglect ourselves. So for me, I go and follow the leaders. I follow relationship coaches and I learn from them. I like Amanda, you guys, how many coaches I can go to talk shows, different coaches from all walks of life. It is amazing. You just get to learn from people. And when I'm learning, I'm a follower, basically. When I'm learning from you guys, I'm a follower. And when you basically learning from people, it helps you, like at Ngozi talk shows, being a follower. We say we help people find their own voice, lead from within. So when I'm being a follower, it means basically I'm standing there taking notes for me to find my own voice, because not everyone has a voice. We have it within, but it's hard to let it all out. It's hard to express it. It is hard to, people find it hard because of fear. People fear even leaders. There are some leaders who don't succeed. They learn, they're leaders. Then when they are faced with the responsibilities, they don't want responsibilities. The fear takes over. You get scared. What if things go wrong? What my family gonna think? So many things come and play into place. So as a great leader, basically is a leader that basically empowers people, influence, even if you are fear. You just have to conquer that fear, because that fear will always be there. always, no matter what. No one says, oh, I worked on my fears and they go away. We learn to actually to override them. We don't learn to basically accept them. Me, I don't accept fear. I always tell that inner voice that you are a liar. I can do this. Even when I know that I'm scared, I always say to that voice, no, you are a liar. And also, Nick was saying, you talk about safety, that you basically, you find yourself and you are in this unit where basically your safety is on the line. And that is being a great follower. And when you put that yourself on the line, that means you are evaluating the things that I could have done this better. I could have done this. That means you become basically, you become a great leader when you learn from people, when you put your life on the line. You become basically that person that empowers people. And that's why I always say to people, when you work for the company, instead of mourning, complaining, and whining, take notes what they are doing wrong. What are they doing wrong? Like what you were saying, Nick, just take notes. And then when you take notes, keep taking them. And then when you, after that, go and do the training and make it better, or ask, confront the managers or the leaders and show them what you think about their leading skills. If they don't want you to change, you can go somewhere else and change it, or you can create your own company. The opportunities are always there. You don't have to be a follower all the time. Even the leaders, even here at Ngozi Talk Shows, we've got leaders. And when you guys speak, you always say to people, find your own voice. Be your own leader. You want them to follow you. And at the same time, you want them to learn your skills. And you want them to become who they should become. Over to you, Amanda.
I really like what both of you were saying, but I like how, Nick, you like, I could just envision as you were talking, envisioning myself even being in like a similar situation where you should be focused on this one thing, but you're so worried about how your boss or whoever you're accountable to is going to behave, and that's a really like scary almost situation, because all of your anxiety is put towards how this other person is going to treat you, and that just shows like that it's not a good leader. And I always think that leaders lead with kindness, compassion, and empathy. And because I think that those are like the true leaders of our world. Is if you can lead with kindness, compassion, and empathy, then that's the sign of a really true leader. And I like what Nomza said about the silent conference. I thought like, I wonder why they would want a silent conference, but I guess it's probably so that you listen and you're completely present with the presenters. And then after, you get to go and talk with people and ask questions, is what I'm assuming happened. But like, what a neat
Oh no,
experience.
it's a you know, like it's a silence event. It's like there's two events. It's like there's this side they're talking about leadership, and the other side maybe they're talking about how to treat a VIP. So you get to choose where you want to go, but you put earphones like you are in a gaming, you are in the game, inside the game, so you can just listen the speaker speaks. But and then when you take notes, when you get fed up, you can go to somebody else and listen to them. And that's how it's like. So when you walk in, it's like you can't hear anything. You all you do is focus to the speaker, what the speaker is saying, so you cannot ignore, you cannot fall asleep.
Oh, that's really interesting. So you just like sit and have like a headset on so that you're
Yeah,
just
yeah,
listening to like
yeah. You
whatever.
speak and with your notebook, and you focus on the speaker when she speaks. Obviously, when somebody's speaking into your ears, you can't basically ignore them. Yeah, there's lights. There's like in the game room, there's lights. You can't fall asleep. You can't do anything.
That's interesting. Definitely a way to keep you present for sure. Um, I always think that we dismiss kids too as leaders, and so often kids can be leaders in so many different ways. And I think that's something that we really need to empower kids to do as well, because I know for me that there's so kids want to lead. They like get excited when they get to lead, and especially like when we do like buddy classes or something, like when like my older grade gets to be buddies with a younger grade, they're like so excited because they get to be a leader in some capacity. But then there's also times when the little kids get to be leaders in different capacities too. And I just think that's so powerful, is when you can inspire the younger generation to like step up and be leaders in at different points in time too, because they're not just like vessels to be filled. They have so much to give out as well, and so much to share, that it's often dismissed, and is dismissed by schools and people in authority, because they think that they have to teach kids, when essentially I think that good teachers and good leaders aren't the only teachers or leaders in the room. There are multiple teachers and leaders in the room. It's just that some people might have specialties or passions in certain areas, and they might be the leader in that area. But then you can go into a different area and learn from the other people. And so it's essentially like we pulling from different people's gifts. And I think that's something that real effective leaders do, is they can step back and let other people shine, and let other people shine in their passions and in their areas that they're gifted. And when you know when to step back and let other people shine, I think that's another sign of a really true leader. Because like Nick was talking about, that ego piece, like that ego, once you can get rid of the ego and step back and let other people shine, I just think that's so much more empowering than somebody who's like, nope, this is the way we're going to do it, and and I'm the boss, and all of this. And I think that's so hard for some people to do, because they've been trained, or I almost even feel bad for them. I feel bad for them that their self-esteem is so low that they take on this complete ego stance in order to like lead from like authority, rather than like lead from what is true leadership, which I believe is leading from kindness, compassion, and empathy.
And then I'd say another piece for good leadership is knowing what the person that your follower is, knowing what they need and how they learn and how they're motivated. I think you see it everywhere in your workplace. I think on professional sports teams, you can tell those coaches and those leaders and whatnot that are doing it right, because they can get the most out of everyone underneath them, whether they're a really introverted person that maybe doesn't need any criticism at all. Maybe they just need time and space to figure it out themselves, and they're their own worst enemy. And so anything that you say to them is only going to get in their head and do the opposite of what you're hoping to do. And that is to get the best out of everyone. And I think that gets lost in a lot of times, where people just have a leadership style and they just go in and that's it. It's my way or the highway. And again, not getting over that ego part. And then I just think that is important, is finding the way that each individual underneath you flourishes and then leading them in that way.
I like what you said there about that, because I think that that's super important too, is the ability to read the room, right? Or to read people's emotions, like that oh, what is it called? This like social knowledge, almost like you have this ability to read the social cues. And I think that's a really important quality of a good leader too, is to read the social cues and to be able to read the room. Like you said, certain people, and it's with kids as well. I know, like partway through my school year, which kids I can be sarcastic with and which kids I can't, right? Because there's some kids that you can't be sarcastic with, or they will like cry. Where there's other kids that like you need to be sarcastic with, because then you get them on your side, because then they know you can joke with them and stuff. And that's how you get them to be like engaged in what you're teaching, or just engaged in having a like actual like relationship where they actually want to learn. And I've got a lot of kids through sarcasm, but then I know which kids I can be sarcastic with and which kids I can't, and which kids I can be like, stop that right now, and they'll be like, and then they'll stop. But if I did that to a different kid, they would be in tears instantly. And so it's really, you really have to know the people that you're working with in order to know how they'll flourish. And I think that's so important. You're absolutely right. I just wanted to touch on that before I forgot. Nomza?
Yeah, it is the important what Nick was saying, and Amanda as well, what you're saying, that mostly with our kids to help them to lead, because things get really, really hard. Like we are in this generation where children needs to know where basically need their life to have a direction. There's so much information out there. So if the teachers basically were to teach them, Amanda, like the way you always talk about how you help children to correct you, and you teach them to say, listen, not just because I'm a teacher, I'm always right. If you feel that I'm wrong, let me know. You are actually teaching the kids to be great leaders. And I was in the car the other day, and one of my daughter's friends, she says, oh, does your daughter know where the subject she wants to take? I said, yeah, she's made a decision about the subject that she wants to take. But then I look at my children, the difference with their friends is, me, I always talk to my children. I always talk to them that you need to make your own choices in life. And you don't make choices because of your friends or because of somebody else that you know are making that choice. Like right now, my daughter, she's going to a school trip in Jersey, and she hasn't got friends in that trip, so music trip. And at first she was like, but my friends are not going. I said, that's why you're going, because you don't go to a trip just because you don't do something because your friends are doing it. You do something because you want to learn. That experience is for you to learn. Once you learn the experience, you can share it with your friends, so your friends next time can go to the trip. So if you tell them now, they'll be like, it's boring, is this? So she was like, oh, okay. Mean mom, they call me mean mom. For me, when my kids are sick, I always say to them, don't ask me, mommy, if I'm fit enough to go to school. I'm like, it's not me who is sick. And they're like, you are so mean. I'm like, I'm not mean. You have to make that decision. If you tell me, mommy, I don't think I can make it to school, I'm really, really sick, and then I will believe it because it's your feelings. But I can't make that choice by just looking at you, because you'll be putting up the feelings. So I always make sure they make choice, and my daughter goes, that is so mean to make somebody make that choice. You have to make a choice for me because you're my mom. I'm like, the choice is, if I look at you and discuss with you, are you well enough to go to school? And if you say, yes, I am, you go to school. But if you say, mommy, I don't think I'm well enough, you stay at home because you are the one who is sick. So she calls me mean mom. And I always teach them, and I like it the way every time you speak about the kids as a teacher, you talk about how you dedicate your life teaching the children. And I pray and hope that some teachers will do that as well, to teach their children. And I could see that the schools where my daughter went, and the teachers were just like you, and it helps a child a lot. It makes a big difference. And also for me, when I go to like meetings, school meetings, I know that I'm not a teacher. So when I go to parents' evening, sitting down with the teachers, I know I'm a follower that moment. I don't know, I know my children, but the teachers know more than I do because they spend all day with those children. So I always say to the teachers, if you look at my daughter and you see the work at the school that they do. If you believe that this child, she's capable of more, give more work. You're welcome to do that. If you feel that this child is capable of doing this, there are opportunities that they need to do, or the advice that you need to tell them, let me know. I'm happy, I'm open. So I always make sure that there's a room for people to come and approach me. I know that if I become an interfering parent, my children will be hated in school. So I always do that. So I know when to be a follower, when to step back. And I know when to actually lead. So it's very, very important. It's like at Ngozi talk shows. I know that when I'm going away, if something comes up, I don't have to, if I know that there's coaches available, I don't have to say, oh, I'm running the talk shows. No, I don't have that attitude. I know that the talk show will be run without me. The show will go ahead without me. So everyone knows their job, that even you, Amanda, when you are available, you know, one day there's going to be no, Amanda, I'm not available on Wednesday. You take over. I trust that you are a great leader, and Ngozi talk shows will still be Ngozi talk shows even when I'm not available. So those are the things that great leaders do. And also I have to step back as a Ngozi talk shows and learn from you guys, which has helped me a lot. So much. It has helped me so much. And there are some speakers that go, and I don't say anything because I know that these guys, I know that sometimes work gets busy, and I know they're going to come back. If someone is good, I'm in no position to standing in their way. I know they're going to come back, and you can see that some speakers are starting coming back, that I'm less busy. So I'm coming back. I'm like, yes, sure. Because I know that these people are great leaders, and they were there for me when I needed somebody to believe in me, and they were there. So I think it is nice. And Nick, as well, when you are saying your way or my way, that is a big, big statement that basically this statement stops people succeeding. And it stops company growing as well. That if you don't allow people within the company to bring the ideas, it will stop. Because just because I'm a company owner, it doesn't mean I know everything. You don't. And the people that are building, they build the company, is the people that is the team, basically, because they bring different ideas, and you evaluate those ideas, and you just take what works, what doesn't work, and then you leave it there. Over to you, Amanda.
I like what you were saying about like you can leave and other people will run it, and you can trust them. And it made me think of my classroom again, because essentially I always view like I've done a good job when I can leave the day to a sub, and the kids could essentially run the day without me being there. And even like if there was no sub, they would still be able to like essentially run the day and know what to do all day long without me being there. And that's when I know I've done a good job, is essentially I can be like to the sub, like and I get notes back from the sub being like, thanks for such an easy day, because the kids just know what to do, and they know how to do it, and how the day flows, and they're just able to like go through it seamlessly. And that's when I know that I've done a really good job, is because I can just sit back and be like, yeah, they can teach themselves, they're fine. That's when I know I've done a really good job, is that they know exactly, and they might have questions in certain areas of like math or something, and need a little bit of help there, but they essentially could run the whole day without me, or run a couple of days without me. And that's when I always feel like I've done a really good job, is that I know that. And I think that that's what good leaders do, is they get all people to surround them that could run it, and once they got it up and running, that they could not be there anymore, then they can go on to empower other people. And I think that's that part of collaboration too, and not competition, where if you can lead and then empower others to be leaders, then you can take a step back and then go and help others. And essentially, if you are a boss, that's not the case. That boss is like, I have to be here. If I'm not here, it's going to fall apart. And that's essentially like, that's not true. And I think that if they were a good leader, they would realize that there's other people in the organization who can step up and who can help out and who will recognize that they can get through if you're not there. And if you've done a good job of leading, then the rest of the people in your organization will be able to step up when you have to take a step back for a sick day or for taking care of your kids or whatever it is, right? Or even just to step back and be like, I wonder if they could run the day without me.
Yeah, I think that's it's a really big point there too, is how quickly you can shut down growth or any sort of advancement in whatever the job is, and that way is to have that my way or the highway mentality as a boss. Because thinking about it now, in that unit, I mean, the last thing I was going to do is to bring up a new idea or to come up with something, innovative or try something new, because I knew that that wasn't going to fly with this leader. And so there was no growth in it. And so, that's a really good point, is how not to do it again. For sure. And then just touching on, I think the vulnerability piece is just huge. I don't think it can be stated enough, is that it's counterintuitive in a lot of senses, because you think as that stereotypical leader or boss is the person that always has it together and always knows exactly what to do and what to say. But that's not reality at all. And so to go to that point or place of vulnerability and just be honest and open and all that, and the people underneath you will see that a mile away and you'll just draw more people in and bring the best out of people. So I think those are all really good points, how to do it right and how not to.
It's almost like people think that when you're the leader, you can't be vulnerable, but I think that's really the opposite is the case. And that's like a stereotype that we have of leaders, is that we like think that they can't be vulnerable. But in my opinion, I think that almost is a higher quality of a leader, is that vulnerability piece. And the people that I look at as good leaders are the ones that in different areas too, are the ones that are authentically like vulnerable. Like one of my favorite people that I follow on Instagram is very vulnerable on Instagram. It's all about relationships and vulnerabilities and their own experiences. And it's called Create the Love. I love like all the stuff that he talks about, but he's very vulnerable and open and honest. And it just is like, that's what I find empowering. That's what I find is like a good leader. And I think that's why he has so many followers, is because he's so completely authentic and vulnerable on there. And he just speaks his truth. And I think that's something that and that's why I reconnected with Nick too, is because I saw something that he was just speaking his truth on. And I was like, wow, like this person is really powerful.
Yeah. Well, thank you. But that was a big lesson for me in the last few months, is when I put myself out there and just speak my truth, and from the right place and from my heart and all that, and just put it out there, like the response that I've gotten online. And so I'll just kind of explain what happened. So I was still employed by the Calgary Police Service back in February when the trucker convoy was happening here, and I saw things that our government was doing to deal with the peaceful protests there that went against everything that I stand for and that I believe should be stood for in a free and democratic society. And so I just put my thoughts on video and posted it to a chat. And it was specifically about when the Ottawa police were seizing fuel from the convoy participants, from the protesters. At that point, exercising one of their basic freedoms to protest and to make their causes known to the government. And the police were seizing the fuel, and just how the government was using the police as their kind of heavies, and that just didn't fly with me. And so I made a video, and it went viral. And the support and the amazing outpouring of support was unbelievable. I'd never put myself out there and been vulnerable like that, and then to see the response was very encouraging, and it's definitely something that I'll keep doing going forward for sure.
Yeah, definitely. You have to speak your own truth. There is a girl, she's one of the matchmakers. She's got um about maybe 1 million following, and I asked her, I said to her, she's a coach, I said to her, how do you have all these people following you? She went viral as well. She had a car accident, and then she talked about her story, and then she went viral. So she was saying to me, Nomsaya, when you are doing live or coaching or helping someone, you should always speak your own truth. Always don't tell people what they want to hear, because when you speak your truth and what you believe in, and that person try to help someone truthfully, and then you'll be able to help them, and when you help them, they'll bring somebody else. She was saying most of the people, when you do live, they are trying to be something that they are not. They don't speak the truth. And she was like, when you are doing your life, you have to be individual. You have to speak your own truth. You will have your own people that are going to want to love your message. They're going to want to follow you. They're going to want to learn from you. You'll be teaching them as well. And she was like, if you try to be like everybody else, it's not going to work. So that was the advice that she gave me, like what you did, Nick. She was like, speak your truth. And when you do speak the truth, then you get to where you need to go. And I was like, is that it? And she was like, yep, that's it. And she was like, if you look at the pop stars, she was like, look at the pop stars, not the current ones, but look at those old generation, how they did things. They did things as an individual, not like copying anybody else. So she was like, that's who you need to be. Just be you and speak your own truth. And the truth, it doesn't have to be something that is going to hurt somebody, something that you know is going to build and empower someone. So that was the advice that she gave me, and I basically stick to it, because every time that we're doing live, and we all individually, we all speak our own truth, and we are all different coaches as well, but the voice is one. We are in one voice. We are united. We're different, united with one voice. We speak the truth, but in one voice. Lead is basically teaching, empowering people to be their own great leaders, find their own voice, because there are so many people who love to actually do even live laughing on Facebook, but they can't because they're scared. The fear basically is basically destroying people. They're like, I'm scared. I can't even do this. But when somebody watches and goes to talk shows, I get so many people basically emailing me. There's a girl that I used to sing with, and she sent me a message one day, and she goes, oh, by the way, I found this video on YouTube and I was watching it. I didn't realize it was you talking, and I'm listening to the video. I found myself in tears until I realized actually I know this person, who this person is. And she was like, she was telling me that basically she now watches the talk show. But before, when she found this video, she didn't know that this is what I do. And she kept watching it. And she was like, in the end, oh, I know this person that is on this video. So that's what you guys are doing. You're empowering people. You are the leaders that are helping people. If there's a student that will be watching you, Amanda should be like, I want my teachers to teach me this. I want to learn this. And start asking questions as well, because the children have to ask questions. I allow my children basically to challenge me. I always say to them, if you feel that you have to challenge me, not by being stroppy or anything, put your argument on the table. I'm ready to listen. So I always give them that opportunity. And my daughter will be like, don't use your psychology on me. I'm like, I'm not using your psychology, my psychology on you. All I'm saying is if I say this is what we're doing, but if you feel that you want to challenge that argument and your argument makes sense, I'm ready to listen, because I'm teaching my children basically that just because I'm a parent, it doesn't mean that I know it all. I always tell them that I'm just going according to the things that I'm learning. So when you are older, don't look back and say, I'm not married because of my mom. I'm not married because of my dad. I'm like, we all make mistakes. So we are learning, we are making mistakes along the way. And when you're older, try to find your own life and be your own person. And if you feel that my parents were not good at this, just try to correct that without holding your life back. So any words of encouragement, Nick, before we leave to our audience?
Yeah, I would just say I think the biggest piece is just be radically yourself. Is just be who you truly are without holding back for other people, without trying to modify your own actions or words or whatever to fit in. Is just be yourself. When you look out in society, those people that are truly magnetic and are true leaders, that's what they're doing. They're being authentic, and people can smell that just from miles away. And it's an energetic thing for me. It just pulls people in. I look at someone like in the entertainment industry, I look at someone like Post Malone, for example, who like looks a little rough, admittedly, but he's super talented, and he is just radically, authentically himself in every moment. And that is, yeah, that's amazing. I think we need more of that in the world.
I agree with you. Sorry, I had to go and get a Kleenex because my allergies are acting up. And I'm like, oh no, I'm gonna sneeze all over. Yeah, I think that part about people who are famous, like you don't want to strive to be them. You want to maybe strive to be empowered by their path, but
Yeah.
no cover band ever becomes really famous. Right? Like, because they're just covering other people's stuff. But when you are truly authentic and you are truly giving your gifts out to the world, that's where your true power stands. And that's where I think we have this ability to, and we need to stop viewing leadership as competition and view it as collaboration. And we need to empower others with our gifts, but then follow others with their gifts as well. So somebody who's really great at social media, that's not my specialty. I'm going to go get help from them, right? Or I'm going to get empowered by somebody who's that's their niche, and let them lead in that, and then I'll lead in my area, right? And I think that, and when you can build a community of that, and it's really that essential community that we want to build as leaders. And when we can build a community as leaders, that's when we know we are true leaders. And I think that's something that really shifts our perspective on what it is to be a leader.
Yeah, I like it. It's like you know what we're talking about. There's this guy, Britain. He won Eurovision anyway, but they put Ukraine as the winner just to help them out, basically. But I know he won the British one. The British guy, he came from nowhere. Basically, he has this big following on TikTok. So I basically watched the guy for the first time. I was like, I like this guy. He's just got this likable personality. He's always smiling, and when he sings, basically, it's like you want more of him. And I was like to my father-in-law, who is this guy? And he was like, oh, he's a new one. You're going to like him. Sit down and watch Eurovision with me. And Britain have not won Eurovision, I think, since like for a long time, or 30 years or 40 years. So I think this year he won, basically, because he came second. But I knew Ukraine was going to be pronounced as winner. But he did. He's so amazing. I just like him. I follow him on his social media. I just have to comment, basically, to bless him when I see his post, because it's so likable. It's really, really nice. So I think being a great leader is knowing when to lead, and being a follower is knowing when to follow. Because even when they announced Ukraine, he got so excited, basically gave them hugs and stuff, but he knew he won anyway. So, and it's nice when you lead, when you actually, as the leader, and you help people to follow you, and then it makes sure that you let them know that they don't have to be followers for a very long time, and they can implement. It's like uh, um, Andy Harrington. Andy Harrington, he always, when he does his event, he always reminds his followers that we are magnificent and we can be who we want to be. We don't have to follow him. He always live and say, take my work. When you come here, take my work. Go create your own. I give you permission as a follower to go and use my work. You don't have to use it exactly. Go and implement my work. Don't go to the grave with nothing. Be somebody. So for me, basically, my words of encouragement would be like, know what you want, know who you are, and follow the people that you admire in life, and be there, follow them, and be a role model to the society by becoming as an individual. You don't have to do what they do, but you know your gift, you know what you can do, and just do it, implement as a follower, and become a great leader, empower people around the world. So we are here at Ngozi Talk Shows Monday to Friday, UK time, 1 p.m. And please, YouTube subscribers, subscribe to our channel. And if you want to get in touch with Amanda and Nick, please do. And you can contact them through Ngozi Talk Show page, or you can follow them to their Instagram or Facebook pages, and just see what they do, and get in touch with them. God bless. Live with grace.